Stop trying to shame socialists into voting for Joe Biden. It's not going to work. This is by Paul Heidemann of Jacobin Magazine. The New York Times attack yesterday on socialists who won't endorse Joe Biden isn't actually about convincing socialists to vote for him. It's about performatively denouncing leftists as irresponsible for the edification of the liberals who are watching. Translation: it's about the public shaming and denigration of leftists for the benefit of the comfy suburban boomers who read the New York Times. In the New York Times yesterday, Mitchell Abador added his voice to the swelling chorus hectoring young leftists to support Joe Biden, leaning on the pathetic. It was not a typo, it was pathetic. Bathos is a literary term coined by Alexander Pope in his 1727 essay, Peri Bathus, to describe an amusingly failed attempt at presenting artistic greatness. Today, bathos can refer to rhetorical anticlimax, an abrupt transition from a lofty style or grand topic to a common or vulgar one, which occurs either accidentally or intentionally. I'd say in this case we should assume unintentionally. Open letter published by Veterans of Students for a Democratic Society, SDS, Abador chides the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, for not heeding their elders and endorsing a candidate whose career has been spent opposing everything they stand for. Abador's letter is remarkable for the utter lack of effort it puts into making a single convincing argument. He scoffs at Daniel Finn's argument in Jacobin that Donald Trump is no fascist, but he evidently doesn't believe his reader requires any convincing on the point. The irony involved in comparing Trump to fascists openly in the pages of the country's leading newspaper is evidently lost on him. But Mr. Abador's op-ed isn't actually about convincing socialists to vote for Joe Biden. Instead, it's about reassuring liberals that socialists are bad and irresponsible. Everyone knows that attacking leftists for abandoning decency will probably not convince them to vote for Biden. And if convincing people to vote for Biden is so important that it merits denouncing DSA in the New York Times for declining to do so, you'd think that such convincing is what Abador would try to do. The fact that he himself declines to do so undermines his presentation of his position as the result of sober consideration and DSA's as driven by self-righteousness. Abador attacks the left for not wanting to elect Biden, but he himself cares more about attacking the left than electing Biden. The great irony of this is that many DSA members embrace a position that is not far distant from Abador's, which is why the DSA Bernie or bust resolution was weak tea and the DSA itself is weak tea. I don't consider the DSA to be strong enough really in defending leftist values. I think there's a lot of woke signaling in the DSA. As two New Jersey DSA members put it recently, these are the weak tea members, "We believe swing state leftists should vote Biden, not because he deserves it, but because a Democratic administration offers more fertile ground for the left than a Republican one, where we desperately scramble to fight for basic union, reproductive, immigrant, and queer/trans rights. For those seeking to build third-party power, we'll do better under a Democrat as well, since Trump generates a false sense of resistance unity that obscures the deep divisions within the Dems." And as sensible as that sounds, you're still voting for evil. Being pragmatic and sensible is what the Democrats are known for. That's what Mama Bear Pelosi is known for. When we become reasonable, we stop being radical. And right now we need to be radical. And probably forever we'll need to be radical. We let the oligarchs crawl back into power after World War II, and that was a big mistake. Others in the organization disagree, of course, with some arguing DSA members should never vote Democrat, and others arguing that even in places like New York and California, DSA members should vote Biden. That's what a Big Tent organization looks like. If Abador and his editors at the New York Times were actually the cool-headed political realists they present themselves as, they might be focused on these debates in the organization, and they might take an interest in its activities and life beyond Twitter. The fact that liberals pretend to be hard-headed realists while remaining as enthralled to the passions of their position as the wildest revolutionary goes a long way toward explaining the revulsion with which these kinds of arguments are received, even by people like me who are sympathetic to arguments for swing state voting. We are accused of having abandoned decency by people practicing the rankest hypocrisy in their arguments. No wonder so many of us are contemptuous of contemporary liberalism. Most socialists will undoubtedly react to Abador's argument in precisely the same manner he would react to us publishing a piece accusing him of betraying the international working class by voting for an imperialist party, by ignoring it. Abador is free to use us as target practice so that he and other liberals can congratulate one another on how realistic and responsible they are, but he can hardly expect us to be interested in that exercise. Meanwhile, if liberals think that Joe Biden needs DSA's votes, they should try something new for a change and actually work on convincing us. They'd put considerable time and effort into thinking about how to win over Republican voters, and it wasn't by calling them racist lunatics. If liberals want socialists voting for their party, they can start by showing us the same level of courtesy. And if you need further proof, here's some evidence that older people suck more than younger people, generally speaking, and that the DSA is weak tea. An open letter to the new left from the old left. Now it is time for all those who yearn for a more equal and just social order to face facts. These older Democrats use the word facts a lot, and they use the word reality a lot, and they're trying to sound like grown-ups and reasonable, but they're just so delusional, it's crazy. So first they say that Bernie Sanders endorsed Biden, and so he knew what he was doing, and that they're gravely concerned that some of his supporters, including the leadership of Democratic Socialists of America, refused to support Biden, whom they see as a representative of Wall Street capital. He is a representative of Wall Street capital. Some of us are DSA members, but do not believe their position is consistent with a long-range vision of democracy, justice, and human survival. And now these reasonable-sounding people are going to tell us that Donald Trump is Hitler again. There's a lot of that going around. Now they're going to tell us to face facts. Now it is time for all those who yearn for a more equal and just social order to face facts. All of us have charged for years that Trump is the leader of an authoritarian party that aims for absolute power, rejects climate science, embraces racism, sexism, homophobia, and violence, holds the democratic process in contempt, bids to take... Who holds the democratic process in contempt? The DNC. The fucking DNC holds the democratic process in contempt. Bids to take over the entire federal judiciary, represses voting rights, and violates plain human decency on many fronts. So do the Democrats. You can't make any argument here that the Democrats are wildly superior to the Republicans. You just can't. These are the grounds for our solemn, esteemed determination. A common effort to unseat him is our high moral and political responsibility. I can't do it. I can't read the rest. You have to read this garbage yourself. This is such bullshit. I'm going to leave you with that and catch you on the flip side.